Hi everybody, in this video I'm going to be wrapping up this little malachite cabochon and I'm going to be making a 3-baled pendant. So we got 3 bales up there and also a rose kind of decoration on the front underneath the bale. So if you want to see how I made this pendant, just keep watching. For our base wire, we are using 20 gauge square dead soft copper. Mine is from riogrande.com. And we just need 3 pieces. Mine are about 14 inches, and then my stone is a little square, a little malachite square stone, and if I measure it this way, it's 20 millimeters, or if I do it this way, because I'm going to position it like this, it's 1 inch. So yours doesn't have to be a square or diamond. It can be an oval or a circle. The only reason or the only thing that's going to be different, because mine is a square, is just when I bend my wire frame around it, I'll be bending it, you know, it's going to have more angular bends, but an oval would work great with this too. I just wanted to show a square because I don't really grab squares often enough, but I just wanted to use one here so people can see that they can be just as easy to use as other shapes. So I have my 3 pieces here of 20 gauge wire, and because it's square, it kind of stacks on top of each other. So I straightened it just by running it through my fingers. You can use like a cloth or some nylon pliers. But I found roughly the middle of them here, and I'm holding it so they are stacked together nicely with the flat edges of the square kind of all lined up like that. So like the alternative, hold on, I can't get it to be all messed up, but the alternative would be if it was like something like this and they were like that middle one isn't good. So there we go, like this. That's how you want them. So then I'm grabbing the half round wire. Mine happens to be 24 gauge. You can use 22. I know I use 22 a lot in my past videos, but this one just happens to be what I have sitting on my desk. So I grabbed it because I've been making a lot of really small pendants. I've been using thinner wire, so either 24 or 22, whatever is easier for you. So I'm just grabbing like the end of it here, and it's all connected to my spool over there, but this little end I can just bring it around and around. As you can see maybe there, it's a little bit twisted, so I'm just fixing it with my fingers before I bring it around some more so that the flat side is down and the half round side is up. So like that. Bring it together. So now if you want to make this bit a little bit longer, and you're no longer working with the little end you can just wrap around and around, but this bit where this wire is connected to the spool, it'll get twisted if you just wrap it around. So you have to guide it with one hand and take all 3 of these wires and just turn them and guide, and that is how you'll be able to do that. Let me just find, where did I put my wire cutters? Oh, here they are. So I'm going to cut the wire end here so it's on the same side as my other wire end. And then I am just going to press down on those little wire ends there so they're both here. This is going to be the inside that's touching the stone, so the wire ends will be hidden that way. So because mine has an angle, so if yours is an oval or a circle, you just kind of do this with your fingers and then sit your stone in there. But mine has a bit of an angle there on the bottom. It's not a super sharp angle, but I'm just going to try and create a little bit of an angle here. Oh, another thing you could do is you could be using a teardrop, and you would position the teardrop point down, so then you would also have a point. So I'm just checking to see how that fits, and that seems good. So you can put this down on a table. It's a little bit tough in the air, but I'm doing it in the air just because it's easier to see. And I'm bending the wire frame. So one little trick I guess I have for you guys is if you have trouble with this wire frame, because sometimes, especially if your cabochon is not like super flat on the back, the 3 wires can start to come apart as you're trying to shape them around your stone. So one trick I have for you, I'll show it in this video, that makes it easier. Let me just grab my half round wire again. Is get your half round wire and don't even bother doing it like super nicely. You just need a few wraps because we're gonna unwrap them afterwards. But do make sure that it is lined up nicely. Like maybe you would do this right after you do this one here, before you bend it at all. Like I already started bending mine and then I thought to show you this, but ideally you would do this straight away before you even bent your frame the littlest bit. So by doing this, it's keeping the wires all nicely lined up and together as well. Let me see, how did I have this stone positioned? I can't remember now. Maybe like this, and it's gonna really help you bend that frame, and the wires are not gonna get all discombobulated, and you can even move it as well. Like if you've done this part here and now you want up here to stay together, you can move, you can slide this along. So let me see what I have going on here. Oh, that looks really crooked. Hold on. So I just want this to come together at the top, but I want it to be a little bit centered. So if I just pop my stone back in for a sec, I'm just moving these wires here kind of back and forth. To try and get the bend in them that makes them come together like this. And you can reinforce that a little bit with your pliers if you'd like. So I'm holding it, and then I notice that this, when it faces me, the frame needs to like get tilted a little bit. I don't know if that makes any sense, but sometimes when they come together, it just all kind of shifts and it becomes like a little bit to the side instead of straight up. So I'm just kind of making sure that everything is still, you know, stacked together nicely, facing in the right direction. So now we can just remove these little things that helped us. Just get rid of that. It's good to have some scrap wire on hand if you ever have, you know, some extra little bits that you're cutting off of this half round wire. You can save the scrap and use it for that purpose. All right, so now it's time to connect these 6 wires, so 3 on top of 3. So again, just make sure they're all stacked together nicely, nothing crisscrossed here. It shouldn't have, because we had them bound together. So I'm just grabbing my wire and I'm putting the flat side down, the half round side up, and I'm going around and around all 6 of these wires like this. And then I'm just going to push that down. I'm going to take that wire and feed it through the middle here onto the front. And then with my pliers, I'm just going to grab it and just kind of pull on it. Make sure it is nice and tight. And I'm going to trim that off. That's kind of my way of finishing that wire. So now I'm going to take the frontmost 2 wires, because that's going to be my bail. I'm going to bend them forward, bend the other 4 wires back a little bit so I can get in here easier. Then I'm going to continue this half round wire by wrapping it around just these 2 wires. So because it's connected to the spool, I can't just wrap it around and around. I have to guide it with this hand and twist the whole piece so that the wire just goes onto the bail like that. And we're going to do this for a little bit until this is taller. Alright, so then, oops, wrong way. When it's quite tall, we're just going to trim it here on the back. And then we're going to take our pliers and press that little wire end down, as well as I just like to press down everything, just go over this whole bit. Like that. So now it's time to make our triple bail. So this is the middle portion, and then we want to take just the next closest wire here on each side. So we have 1 and 2, like that. And then these other ones, we'll just kind of bring them down like this to move them out of the way, because we'll be, bending the bail around. So we just kind of want them down and out of the way. All right, so I find that it makes the wire a little bit more sturdy, because it is just a thin 20 gauge wire right now, these 2 bits. So I think it's nice to wrap some half round wire around them, just the single wire. You don't have to, but I like to do it. And what I do is I just take a little bit, I do a little wrap to kind of get it started, like this. And then I go ahead and I turn the piece. We have to do the turning bit with this. And then because this piece of wire is sticking out, I can kind of grab it and it turns. If you cut it really short, if you cut that wire end off, just the whole thing is going to turn around the wire, and you're not going to be adding more wraps. So you don't want to cut it quite yet. And you want to see, is the wire catching? Like right now, it started catching on its own and the whole thing isn't turning. That means I've wrapped enough length. And what I'm going to do now is I will trim that little wire end short there. And then I'll just kind of pinch down that little wire end so it's not sticking up. And I'm going to slide the whole thing down, kind of as low as it goes there. So if I'm looking from the front, here it is. And now, because we already tested that it stays, we can just keep doing this. And we're just adding onto it until it is about as tall as this bail. You can kind of straighten out this bail if you need to. Try to like have them next to each other so you can see roughly as tall as this bail. I'm gonna do this side, and then I'm gonna do this side, the same thing as well. Alright, so I finished that first one. You can see I put it right up next to it to measure that it's the same. And now this is my second one, my one on the left. So I'm just trimming off the little wire end because I already, looked and made sure this was tall enough. And then I'm just pressing down that wire end. Sometimes you can just kind of grab and turn it with your pliers as an easy way to press down the wire end. And then I'm gonna line this up with my bail. So I have all 3 bales here, and they're all the same height. And they're all lined up nicely. This is a good chance to make sure that it is not like crooked or anything, centered. So now what we're gonna do is you're gonna need either a tool like this. These are bail making pliers by Bead Buddy, or some kind of skinny little pencil or something. So I'm going to use this size here, which is the 4th size. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to place it like this, and I'm going to bend the bail around that size of the bail making pliers. And before you bend it too far, you want to take all of these wires here and just kind of tuck them in through the frame here. There we go, like that. All right. Now you can bend all the way. I just like to also make sure that the wires are not all crisscrossed. So I'm going to start with the outer 2. I'm going to push them kind of in there and bend them to the side like this. And then the next 2 will just go right underneath them, just right side by side. I'll show you up close from the front. Might be a little easier to see. These are our extra wires. So here from the front, what has happened is I tucked those wires in, and first I took the ones that were just the single one, and here they are here on the top, and then the other wire goes right under them. So what I'm going to do is just carefully bend those to the back, trying to keep them nice and together, nice and lined up, and symmetrical with the other side as well. And then with my pliers, I'm just going to press down a little bit, get rid of all that space, all that excess space there. So here is what it looks like from the front. And on the back, what we're going to do is we are going to trim those wires, but we're going to leave ourselves some wire ends to tuck away. So then you just take the little wire ends. You don't want them to be super long, but they just need to be long enough where you can bend them in here. Let me hold it upside down so it's a little easier. And then I'm just gonna, I like to do it one by one, press down on them. So the first one I did, and now the second one. And so I've pressed down on those little ends, and now they're tucked into the bail, and from the front it looks like this. So then to do that on the other side as well, we're just going to trim our wires again. We have a bit of excess here. The wires are a little bit longer than they need to be. So if your stone is a little bit larger than mine, you don't need to cut your wire longer. It should be adequate. So just pressing down on those wire ends there. There, you can kind of really see that one. And here we are. Now the bail is connected to our frame. So what we're going to do is put in the stone. So I think mine was like this. I'm just trying to figure out which way I had it when I was bending the frame, because I don't know if it's like a perfect square, you know, so yeah, like this way is definitely wrong. Yeah, I think I had it this way. All right, So pop the stone in. We need to lock it in. So I'm just gonna grab the backmost wire here. I'm just lifting it up so I can get it with my pliers, and I'm bending it onto the stone like that. And I'm just doing that on the other side as well. The stone isn't really secure at this point because the front is completely open, so. But the back now, we can't go backwards, so that's good. So here on the front, I'm just gonna separate these wires here so I can get in here. And I'm just pushing my pliers all the way down, and I'm just making a bend here on the bottom. There we go. I just had to fix this wire here. And on the other side, just make that little separation there. Wedge your wires in there and make that bend like that. And sometimes there's gaps, as you can see, so your stone won't be quite secure until you get rid of those gaps, and just press this down all the way. There we go. Now the stone finally feels really secure in there. So now we just have these two wires. I have left them so that we can do some kind of nice decorating with them. Something fun, because it's just really plain right now down here, and also maybe we can kind of cover this part up at least a little bit, since it's nothing, you know, really beautiful right there where it's just attaching. So I'm taking one wire and just kind of swooping it across, and then this wire, I'm just gonna swoop it across as well. Makes like a little heart. Let me try to get that little heart more symmetrical. Perfect. And now I'm just going to press down. So this wire is on top. So I'm pressing down and I'm moving it underneath this other wire. And then I'm moving the other wire underneath as well. And I'm just alternating. This just makes like a little flowery kind of shape. If you have something else you would rather do with these wires, that's totally up to you. This is just the first thing that I could think of, is to make like a little flower shape with them. So I'm lifting this one up, I'm putting this one under it. So you're just alternating, putting one wire under the other. If you've seen any of my other videos where I make like a flower rose shape. Here's what it's looking like so far. It's up to you when to stop. I'm just trying to catch a good moment when it's gonna look more or less symmetrical. So I think for this wire here, here's a good time to cut and tuck it away. There we go. And then for this other wire, I think it'd be good for it to kind of go around a little bit. There we go. And I'm just trying to think whether I should just tuck it away. yeah, what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna trim it right here, and then instead of tucking it like into the bale, because it obviously doesn't reach the bale in there, I mean, I'm just wrapping it kind of around this little wire here. So that's going to be my way of securing it. Like that. So now the rose is looking more or less symmetrical. This little part here is kind of crooked though. There we go. And to separate our bales, so it actually looks like this pendant has 3 separate bales. There we go. So there is our 3-baled pendant. And here is the back of it. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.